We're going to be focusing on both Slack and GitHub in anticipation of the hackathon starting here shortly within just a few weeks. Now, I am going to give you a little bit of information about the hackathon itself. I'll probably do that during every single event. Of course, due to the virtual nature, every once in a while you're going to see me looking around because generally speaking, when I am looking over in this direction, I am looking at the window to see what's going on. If there is something placed in chat, please let me know. Even though I have the window open, it's on my other screen, so it may be a little bit more difficult for me to see. So today's agenda, we're going to do, of course, some quick introductions, a little bit of information about the hackathon objectives and what's going to happen during the event, the deliverables and resources, and then some general information along with some Slack basics and GitHub web basics, right? As always, if you have any questions, stop me. The whole purpose of this is to be able to answer those burning questions that you all may have as related to this event. So today, I'd like to make sure that I introduce the organizing committee, and we actually have a couple members here. We have Amy Cannon and Boyd are actually here. Would you two mind saying hello?
Boyd, you want to go first?
Hello, we're excited for this year's hackathon and all the participants, and appreciate all the hard work Jamie and Linda and everybody's put into this.
Hello, I'm Amy Cannon. I'm so happy to be a part of this hackathon, and I can't wait to meet everybody and help mentor you through everything you need to give you the essentials to make you successful for this hackathon.
Excellent, thank you. We also have with us Josh, who is our web admin pro temp. We can see his head. And my name is Jamie Powell. I'm actually also a member of the organizing committee, and I'll be the one presenting today. And of course, I'd be remiss not to mention Alex Nolt and Linda Hayden that are also essential members of our organizing committee. So the objective of HP in the City was to harness the resources and skills of knowledge that are brought into these regional areas when the supercomputing conference lands locally. Quite often the conference lands in an area, we have all this talent and understanding and knowledge, and we as a group meet and then we disperse. And the area is generally just another conference. What we wanted to do was to establish something that broadens the diversity within the conference while also leaving lasting impact in the city where the conference resides. So to tackle those goals, that's where HP in the City actually began, and as of this year has become a part of the SC conference itself. In this case, this year's theme is to develop an understanding of Atlanta-based issues through application of data analysis, presentation, or management, which is a very broad theme. What you should expect to gain as participants are increased familiarity of data science in the cloud, experiencing collaborative software engineering skills, and develop professional communication skills. So in short, you're going to be given the tools that HPC, so high performance computing professionals utilize, and the skills along with the support to develop your own projects to tackle some of the problems that the local Atlanta area has. You're going to hear this over and over again. There's some deliverables that we expect of every team. Now, some of you all that are on this call are actually alumni of past hackathons. So these are going to sound very, very familiar. One, if you have any source code, you want to make sure the source code commented. We want to make sure that you have that and it's saved to your GitHub repository, which we're going to learn about today. You want to have a PDF of the presentation that includes team members, your use of HPC technology in a project, as well as how your project can impact the local area, in this case of Atlanta. And lastly, your GitHub link with those previous files, so the source code and PDF, and then a README that is modified to provide some additional information, so like the project description and things like that. And I'm actually going to show you a very, very quick version of that here towards the end when we're in the GitHub section. Some resources that you have available, of course, are mentors and specialists. Now, our goal is to ensure that each team has at least a primary mentor and a specialist assigned to it. So you'll have 2 points of contact, as well as a group, we share resources. So if there's something that we can help you with, ask us. And along with that, we have Slack, which is our ad hoc communication, especially due to the virtual nature of the hackathon this year. Slack is an essential tool. This allows you to not only have group chats, but then to also speak across groups or out of the bounds of your group to find the information that you need in any way we can. You will have access to Google Cloud, as well as provided credits thanks to both Google and Omnibon. You're going to have access and training in Cloudy Cluster, which is a very, which Omnibon is renowned for their ease of setup and spinning up clusters. So if you want to perform any type of extensive data analysis or even limited machine learning, and I say that with air quotes, limited machine learning, you can. And the only reason I say limited is due to the time constraints of the event, not because you can't do it. Most commonly used software include Python, Jupyter Notebooks, Node.js, so JavaScript, HTML, and we will also be providing some data sets which are currently being aggregated on our site. A few other general information, or the 3 T's for teams. Teams consist of 4 to 5 members with 1 primary mentor and 1 specialist. Now, I do want to say that the mentors are there to assist you to drive forward your research, to act as a resource for you. Some of the mentors will be coming with projects that they will offer to you, which you may modify. Other mentors are there for teams that may have their own ideas about what project they want to work on, and they'll just be there to support you. So it goes either way. As far as in the time, this is very, very alpha as far as in our timing right now, but it will be taking place for sure November 5th through the 9th. November 5th will be of course, the start of the event, and team formation and initial planning day. And I'll start in the evenings. You can see there at 6 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Central. On the 6th through the 9th, there will be 2 check-ins, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. That's to make sure that everything is good to go. And of course, for the alumni members, they know that during those times, I enjoy adding surprises. I'll leave that at that. And then on the 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, we will have our final presentations. Some topics, examples I've listed here, and they are across the board. And of course, some of our mentors have provided some of theirs, like data analysis of COVID information, economic disparities, effects on college participation, genomics, weather modeling in the cloud, social justice. November 5th, 2 days before that, a major event is of course happening here, the presidential election. So you may want to take a look at some of the items around that. Public data management, it may be something as simple as, because we're dealing with local governmental groups, they may have data sets that aren't presented well or could be presented in a better way. That may be a project you could take a look at. There's a real issue of graduation rates, especially as related to broadband access in Atlanta. And Georgia in general, as well as insurance versus public health resilience. So just to throw a few ideas out there for you. Now for our communications platforms. Again, I'm not here to talk at you. I'm here to talk with you. So if there are any questions or concerns, please feel free to turn off your mic and ask a question, or of course, present it there in the group chat. Now, Slack. So Slack is our chosen communications platform. If any of you have used Discord before, you're going to feel, Slack is going to feel very, very comfortable. Now on the screen, there's a QR code there. If you have not yet signed into Slack, feel free to use that QR code to go ahead and join the Cloud HPC Hack team. Although invites have been sent to everyone that is participating in this meeting today. Everyone that is registered has received an invite into the Slack session. Priority messages, of course, messaging. We're used to that. It has both direct and group. It's a little bit weird how you do that. So on the next screen, I'm gonna show you really quickly how you can find those tools. There's a little bit of a learning curve there. It's a little bit non-intuitive, but once you do it, you go, oh, okay, that's how that works. There's video conferencing available, both group and individual, as well as the ability to share screens if you'd like to, as well as file exchange. So all the basics that we have grown accustomed to with any good messaging platform. So some important channels. By channel, what we mean is basically a group chat, but they're usually themed group chats. So our primary channel, where I'll be sending you information as well as the other mentors and things like that, will be to the entire group, will be in the HP in the City Hack HQ general channel. If you use that QR code on the previous screen, or if I sent you an invite directly, you should already be a part of that general channel. If you've already been a part of our hackathon before, your previous account will still work. Just browse the channels and you can add that particular channel to yours. Assistance is just that. All the staff members, the specialists and mentors, we will all be monitoring the assistance channel so that if you have one of those broad topic questions, you can of course ask us there. As well as you will be creating custom team channels. You may see some, or you do see some on the screenshots on the screen, on the screenshots I have from previous hackathons. I left those there so you get an idea of how your team will have a channel, custom team channel like that. One of the things I want to make sure of for browsing for a channel, that idea I just told you about, when you have Slack installed, either on your phone or on your computer, which I highly suggest for the hackathon, I highly suggest you install the client on your personal computer, or at minimum, utilize the web client on your personal computer so it's easy for you to copy and paste. Next to channels, you can click plus and browse, and you will see all of the channels there available that you can join. Those with the lock are private channels. So one of the private channels that you can see listed here is the Mentors General. That's so that if we need to have any careful, considered conversations, only the ears of the mentors were here, just to have an idea. You can create a group. Again, you go to direct messages, and then you can click plus. Now here's the trick. In order for you to have a direct conversation on a Mac, you hit Command K or hit this plus button and you can have a direct conversation with someone. But using the plus button next to direct messages, you can add multiple people to your group, so you can have a group chat. So say for instance, there are 5 people in your group, but 2 of you all are working on a particular topic. You may want to have a group chat between the 2 of you. And having said that, once you have the group chats, it also allows you to do conference calls if you so choose. So number 3 down there, once you're in the group chat, you can click the phone icon. You can either do audio, video, of course, screen share, or any combination of them. Pretty straightforward. Questions, concerns? Now, those of you that use Slack, your window, your left bar may look something like mine, and this is in the middle. I'm a part of about 12 different teams. It can get a little bit interesting sometimes. One thing I will recommend to you is, or let you know, Slack does automatically mute all notifications after a certain period, after a certain time at night. I believe it is 8 o'clock. So if you're going to be working late into the night, which sometimes happens with the hackathons, okay, it happens a lot of times with the hackathons, you may want to double check to make sure that your status is sleep so that you do still receive those notifications as you need. Moving on to GitHub. Now, just another reminder, a GitHub repository is a requirement for all teams. This is so that your source code, your presentation is localized in one area. Now, a lot of people say why? Well, there are two reasons. The first is for any judging, we want to have a centralized location that the judges can go to for your team in order to look at all of your products. That makes sense. But the second reason isn't as obvious. The second reason is because we know that you all are building skills that you're going to want to present to future jobs or even your fellow classmates and things like that, or your teachers as proof of work if you're missing any type of class. By having a GitHub site, or a GitHub repository allows you to have a centralized location, a professionally recognized location where your work can be explored as well as saved for the future. Imagine, if you will, 2 years from the hackathon, you're in a graduate class, or you're in a later undergrad class, or you're working and a problem arises. And you just know that you tackled this problem during that hackathon back in November 2020. But you can't find the files because why? You have a new computer, or you don't remember where a certain area was. By you having a professional GitHub account, thank you, thank you, Alexa. By you having a professional GitHub account, you can have access to that information in the future. So, having said that, not to mention, a lot of times you'll notice, we can speak from the professional side. The GitHub, a lot of times they ask for sample code. I can point people to my GitHub repositories as examples of my coding ability. And that's something you want. So when you set up a GitHub account, it isn't just for one person on your team. No, no, no. Each one of you should set up your own personal GitHub account. If you haven't already, go to github.com. They're free. Set one up for yourself.
I've gotten cold job offers via GitHub before, so that's a thing.
Just saying.
Professional recruiters, like I spoke to a professional recruiter at Dell, and she's like, the first thing I do is look at their GitHub. In fact, sometimes she says she will go and just browse GitHub and search for tags and projects and see what comes up, and then just look at those people and just send out job offers.
Just saying. So yes, so make sure you set up your own personal github.com account. There's one more thing I want to say on this slide while I'm here. Well, two. First, there's some example of other GitHub pages at hpc.org/pasthacks. An example is there from a previous team, Perk 20 Viz Pipeline, where they have all of their code as well as they modified their readme.md. Yes. So, having said that, GitHub accounts, it's personal, do it. Demo time. So let's take a quick look at what it takes to set up a GitHub account. Now I'm going to set one up at my own personal GitHub site. So here's mine. I have a few repositories and things, but I know that I need to set one up for my excellent team project. So I've already have my GitHub account in this case, but up at the top, I'm going to go to plus and new repository. I can start with a template. I can do some other interesting things, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it a name. So I'm going to call this HPC in the city. HPC in the city test. I don't want to call it test because it's my excellent program, my excellent code. That makes me feel better. Usually want to put some type of description down. So I'm going to say code written during the hackathon to save the world. Always need to put that in just in case. Written during because of spelling. Now, all GitHubs on free accounts, I do want to make you aware, are open, default public. In order for you to set it as private, you actually need to pay for a GitHub account. If you have no issues with your code being public, then there's no fee associated with it. In my case, I'm going to leave mine public. I am going to go ahead and select the box to add a README file because I know that that is one of the requirements for the hackathon. And then I'm going to click Create Repository. And just like that, I have a repository set up with a README file and nothing else. Now, the next step is I know that I need to put my source code and I need to put my presentation in here. Now, before I did this, I wrote some excellent code on a site called Replit, which is a site that we're going to have some training on a little bit later. I'm just going to test it to make sure it works. Looks like everything is still working. I've gone ahead and downloaded my files to my computer. Now, during the training, I'm going to show you how you can actually add Git to it. But for right now, let's assume that I don't know that. My code works and we're good to go. So let's go back to my repository. And I'm going to go to Add File and Upload Files. And I already have my files sitting here. I'm going to drop them right here. And I'm going to add a comment. Adding my final code things and commit. And of course, you do want to make that a little bit more descriptive based upon what you're doing, but we're just doing an example for you. And now you can see inside of my repository, I have my README, I have my team presentation, my data file that was created, I have a picture, and my code. And if I click on my code, everything's there. Same thing that I had written inside of Replit. I can see that my README file is actually what's being rendered out here. Now this brings us to another point. The README file ends in that extension MD, which actually stands for Markdown, the Markdown language. So if I go to raw, you can actually see some of that Markdown code. A little hash means it's a header and then some text. Now I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and edit this file. So we have a little text editor here. Now, I fully admit I cheated just a little bit, and I prepared for you all a little bit of Markdown to make my site pop just a bit. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste it in. So I have this hash sign that's for, that lets us know that's going to be a header. I have 2 stars next to team members. That means it's going to be bold. 1 star with a space means it's going to be a bullet. 2 means it's a header 2. Down here, I have a picture that I've inserted, that deep thought. I have some code that I surrounded in backticks. And some of my output. And down here at the bottom, I have a link that I'm actually going to add to the chat window. Actually, better yet, how about I use our newly found general site to add to give some more information on the Markdown language itself. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and say, prettied it up. Read me up. We'll commit that. It renders it now. It says my team project. And see how that code has now been rendered. So that single hash turned into a header. The double asterisks turned into bold. The single asterisk with a space turned into bullets. And you can see how my picture is now rendered. And you can even see how the formatted text is down here for my output. And if I click down here, you can see that even my link works. Very simple, very straightforward-ish. You can almost look at it as in the light of writing a document in the form of coding. It's a little bit different. But once you adjust to it, it makes a little bit more sense. So if I go back to the main repository, you see now that my README file, I have my main files up top. My README file now renders out. This picture, just to add to the mystique there, is actually right here, that deepthought.jpg. You could also add it to a different site and have a link there. And so that gives you a really basic idea of how you can do this. Now I do want to throw one more thing out there. I'm going to settings. And if I scroll down, there is a section called GitHub pages. Now I'm not going to go into this, but this could actually become a full web page if I so chose. And an example of that is actually listed on the HPC Hackathon site. Right now, it still has our Perk Hack Hub. This is going to be changing very shortly to our HPC Hub. But you see, it's a web page that had all the information from that hackathon. But if I go a little bit deeper, view on GitHub, you can see this is just a repository. Matter of fact, it's a repository from my GitHub account. And all this site here is just the README file. And when I go to raw, you're going to see some of the same things we saw before. You see the double hashes for the header. Now, I did do a little bit of HTML in here, but that also lets you know you can do a little bit of HTML inside of your README file. So it's just something you may want to consider for your team, but that is completely up to you, and that's listed under settings. So having said that, I'm going to go back to my slides here. I think we had a good demo there. And I want to say that I want to offer a couple more reminders that our event site is at hackhpc.org. The primary one being hackhpc.org/HPC. So my contact information is here. And with that, I'd like to open the floor to any questions or concerns. Ooh, so in the chat, it looks like Rich is saying, he said it to me privately, so of course I'm going to say it publicly, that GitHub may actually, now that Microsoft owns it, may actually no longer charge for the private repos. I am not certain about that, but of course that is something you can check out. Jinyi, have you heard about that?
4 private repos now.
You can do 4 private repos, so it is
like that,
an
yeah.
option now. That's really cool.
I guess something as a relative GitHub newbie for the last hackathon, I guess something for people to toy around with is getting the GitHub desktop application and just getting familiar with pushing, pulling, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Just for adding to repos.
And I do want to say out there that there's GitHub and then there's Git. Git is generally speaking a computer-based client or a terminal-based client that you can push, send information to GitHub, or pull it down or clone it down. You can fork, so create your own version of the software. You can merge, so you can work on a set of code and then merge it back in. Git and GitHub can get very, very very complicated sometimes. The purpose of this training was to show you the easy way, but as you work with your mentors, and especially as your code base becomes more and more complicated, you may, like Helen was saying, want to do the merging and the forking and branches and things like that that go along with it. But when you see GitHub and then you see Git, just know that there is a connection between the two. But Git is, when people say Git, they're generally speaking about the computer-based client that works through a terminal, wherein GitHub is the website, so the graphical user interface that goes over it. Although, as Kellen was saying, there's also the Git/GitHub web desktop as well. Are there any other questions? That was a good point too, Kellen. Junyi, do you have any pointers for us? Because I know you use GitHub and Git daily.
So I would say that working with GitHub, you're gonna want to think about like when everything is going to go into the master branch. Like when you start trying to commit code off of your computer, you want to make sure that each team member understands that they shouldn't commit to like the main branch, that they should probably fork the main branch, commit their files there, so that if there are any conflicts, you can resolve them later, so you're not stepping over each other's work. It can get kind of frustrating. The second thing is that if you're new to Git, there is no shame in using the GitHub desktop application, which manages everything for you in terms of like it's a push button interface for committing and sending your files up. Git commands at the command line they can be difficult to use. So if you're in a hurry, get the GitHub desktop application and go with that. And then finally, just remember that like all of your history is tracked on GitHub there. So while it's easy to make changes directly on GitHub or commit things, you don't want to commit anything that you think is not going to be permanent. So we tend to tell people only commit something and push it up to GitHub if you know that it works. If it's not working, don't push it up to GitHub yet, or keep it in a separate working branch if you need to communicate with somebody else. Like if you want to share some code via GitHub, you can put it in a separate branch. But it is a working record of everything that you do. So generally speaking, Git is a tool that has a lot of different ways that you can use it. And although GitHub likes you to use it a specific kind of way, it's up to you and your team to figure out how you're going to use all these different things. Like, are you going to commit to the master branch? Are you going to have development branches? That type of thing. Like, where are all your files going to go? Is each individual person going to also, are they going to have their own branch, for example? So those are just considerations for getting your team organized.
Thanks, Junyi. All right. If there aren't any other questions, I'm actually going to end the call for today. Let you have allow you to reclaim your time and enjoy your day. So thank you for coming. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.